age of 6, today's guest dreamed he would be playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Unlikely, you say? No question about it. But he was drafted by Dallas in 1990. Then the rookie set a goal of passing Walter Payton, of all people, the NFL's all-time career rushing leader, by averaging a whopping 125 yards a game for 13 years. Impossible? It was, but he did that too, while breaking many other records as well. Folks, it is my pleasure to welcome one of the greatest running backs in NFL history, the Hall of Famer, Mr. Emmitt Smith. And still the NFL's all-time rushing leader. Please tell me you had no idea that was going to be the case.
Well, I wish I could say I had no idea, but I always had a dream and a goal of making it happen. The reality of it all, you have to go through the process in order to get it done. So believing that it can happen, yes. Will it happen? Don't know. And so that's part of the process. It's part of the process of life. You want to achieve certain things, you actually have to go out and set a goal and try to achieve it. And if you achieve it, set another goal to go further. I'm thankful that it did happen. That's one of the things that I definitely had my sights on.
Dreams and goals seem to define you. I don't know you all that well, but certainly those play prominent roles in everything that you've done. Talk a little bit, first of all, about the family life and when dreaming and goal setting became so important to you.
Well, I would just say my upbringing with my mom and dad, Mary and Emmitt. My mom always tried to instill in all of her kids that you can achieve anything in life that you want if you work hard and willing to pay the price for it. And it's okay if you don't achieve it, but if you get close enough to it, you feel some kind of satisfaction, some kind of reward because you worked hard to get there. You know that you need to work even harder now to try to make sure that you actually attain the goal and then perhaps go through the goal and set another level.
Early on, can you remember some of the early goals that you set in your life, Emmitt? Elementary, junior high, high school?
Put it this way, my number one thing as a child was I needed to get out of Pensacola. No disrespect to my hometown, but
out of Pensacola, Florida.
Out of Pensacola, Florida.
Why?
Because everybody that I saw around me that left, whenever they came back home, they were driving nice things, they were living in nice houses and so forth, and I felt like in order to be successful, you needed to look beyond your current circumstances. And knowing that living in a 3,600 square foot home, which was much different than the home which I grew up from, and wanting to just to grow and allow my wings to spread. And so in order to do it, I felt like I needed to get outside of Pensacola in order to make that happen.
So Emmitt, what did it look like for you? Were you thinking as a youngster, were you thinking business? Were you thinking academics? When did football come into the picture?
Football was the first part. That was the first thing that I ended up doing that I found out that I was pretty good at. When I started playing at the age of 8 at the Salvation Army, I started playing quarterback, wearing number 12 after Roger
Hold
Staubach.
tight. You were playing quarterback.
Playing quarterback.
How good were you?
I never threw a pass. Never threw a pass. Fake the handoff and take off running. Just being able to run with the football and having that confidence at a very early age that I could play this game. The question becomes, can you play it at the next level? When you're playing guys that are 9 and 10 years old, can you play it at the next level when you're playing against guys that are 10 and 11? Can you play it at the high school level and compete at that same level and still be effective?
What did you realize about yourself as a player then? Did you have strength? Did you have power? Did you have speed? What did you recognize as a skill?
At that early age, I had a combination of everything. Speed, power, vision, the agility, the ability to make people miss. And I was pretty creative as a runner. And so seeing the things that I saw on television, whether it was watching Jim Brown or Walter Payton or Marcus Allen or Eric Dickerson or Joe Cribbs or anyone, watching guys run and somewhat emulating their style, seeing phases, seeing things on the football field, angles that's coming at me and avoiding those things and figuring out how to beat someone in a football situation. All of that was happening in my mind as I was playing the game.
Emmitt Smith not only watched, but he applied, and we'll find out more and how he did it after this. Here's what a college recruiting expert said about Emmitt Smith. Quote, Emmitt Smith is a lugger, not a runner. He's not fast. He can't get around a corner. When he falls flat on his face, remember where you heard it first. Holy cow. So, Emmitt, I asked you before, didn't you realize all the limitations that you had as a football player?
No, I actually didn't. I think more people had more limitations on me than I did on myself.
Others had limitations.
Others had limitations more so than I did. I go back to what my mom said. You can achieve anything in life if you really put your mind, heart, and soul to it. It's just a matter of now mental toughness, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. You just keep going. You just do what you have to do. And so the objective as a running back is to produce positive yardage and create the right down and distance for the coordinators to call great plays. And if you do that on a consistent basis, then you're liable to get the ball more than 2 or 3 times a game.
So help me draw this point out, Emmitt. How fast were you in the 100, whether it was a dash or meters? How fast?
Well, 2 different things.
Go ahead.
A dash, I think the fastest I got was probably 10.3, 10.4.
10.3, 10.4.
Yeah.
And in the 100 meters?
Meters, fastest I ever gotten was probably 10.4, 10.5.
Now, for the layperson out there, put that in perspective. Is that blazing? Is that average?
No,
or what?
not in the state of Florida. That's dead last.
In Florida, it's dead last.
And that's probably dead last in Texas as well.
But you didn't allow that to affect you in terms of what your goals were.
See, football is not a track. It's not a track sport. Football is a football sport. You have to have the ability, the agility, and you also have these other attributes. You have to be able to see things and process things fairly quickly. It's one thing to get at a starting line and say, pow, run to the end of it and nothing is in front of you. It's another thing to get at that backfield and to have 11 other guys out there trying to stop you and you zigzagging your way through it and making them all miss. And so, to me, track speed is only good when you can get out and run freely. Football speed, you can't run as freely as track. So,
I'm trying to keep from laughing hard because it's so true. I shared this with you. I was blessed to work with your coach, Jimmy Johnson, when I was at Fox.
Right.
And I asked him, why Emmitt Smith? He said, when I looked at Emmitt and what he did in college, clearly was superior. But I wanted to go back further. I looked at what he did in high school. He was a winner. I wanted to go back a little bit further. Went back to Pop Warner. The man won every place he was. That's why I wanted Emmitt Smith.
I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I think that's someone that recognizes a football player. Because to me, there's a difference between a statistical player and a football player.
Statistical player versus a football player.
Yeah, you can have someone produce all kinds of stats, run this, built like that, have these sizes and everything that fits the criteria of a ideal professional, prototypical player. But then you can have someone like an Anquan Bolden that may not fit that mold, but he's a football player. He knows what to do with the ball in his hands once he gets it. He knows how to compete. He knows how to run routes and get himself open and make things happen. The only thing that they truly measured, should have been measuring, was how effective this guy is at that position.
You got it done. Look, clearly you guys possess an awful lot of talent, but you guys dominated. You won Super Bowl after Super Bowl. There's no telling how many more you could have won. In about 30 seconds, it may seem like a stupid question, but why were you guys so good? Because when I'm hearing you say it's not just talent, there's more to it. Why were you guys so good?
I think we were good because we all grew up together. The Cowboys was 1-15, and Jimmy and Jerry both came in. It's amazing they bought the team and they fired Tom Landry, and the whole Cowboy Nation is upset. We go 1-15, and everybody's saying, "I told you so." Just like the guy said about me, "I told you so." And then all of a sudden, we come together. I think we had this belief that Jimmy and Jerry and our coaching staff knew what they were doing. And we had this belief in each other that we are building something very special here. And if we can continue this on, we will be dominant for a long time. And I think that was our mindset. And that's the way we went into every game. Jimmy made sure that all of our practices was just as tough as any game that we've ever played in. And that was a fact. When we walked into a football field, we didn't feel like we were going into a knockdown, drag-out fight. We felt like we were actually knocking people out along the way. And we knew when the third and fourth quarter came around, we had so much talent that we were throwing at you, you could not hold up.
Emmitt Smith said, "I told you so." Folks, if you look at Emmitt Smith's life now, "I told you so" really resonates. We'll find out more when we continue our conversation with Emmitt Smith after this. Folks, I'm back with the Pro Football Hall of Famer himself, whose NFL career records include 18,355 rushing yards, 164 touchdowns, 4,409 rushing attempts, and as Troy Aikman once said, Emmitt Smith wanted the ball because you felt you could deliver, huh?
Yes.
Big time. Emmitt, one of the things that really amazes me, we talked about dreams and goals. You had no problems asking other superstars a lot of advice.
Right.
Like who and why?
The reason why I reached out to other superstars or people that had achieved a great deal of success is because they've been somewhere where I'm trying to go. There's already a trail from Michael Jordan back to me. There's a trail from Magic Johnson back to me, a trail from Roger Staubach, Walter Payton, and some others right back to me because we all are linked through sport. Now, their level of success and what they did to overcome challenges as well as preparation for the game itself varies. But the consistent part about all of these individuals are not only were they passionate about what they love doing, but they were extremely hard workers. They were student of the games. They were guys that were on a serious mission beyond just winning games. They wanted to leave their mark on the game. They wanted to create a legacy for themselves within the game and doing it through winning. And so understanding where they were at and how they did those things, but most importantly, these are individuals that transition from the game into other areas of life that would carry them for the rest of their life, which is more important than anything that I was able to learn while I was in the middle of the game. So.
Which we are certainly going to hear about as well, too. And these were elite level athletes who crossed decades, if you will. In synopsis form, what did you learn from Walter Payton? What did you pick from him?
Well, I picked a lot of things from Walter. Number one, his training regimen in terms of preparation for the upcoming season. His recovery regimen. How did he take care of his body throughout the course of the season and even during the off season? How he handled himself around crowds, and how he handled himself after he transitioned from the game.
And you told him you wanted to do what with respect to his
record?
record?
Man, I told him I was so inspired. I told him I wanted to break his record.
And he said?
He said at that time, he said it was only two guys that he believed that had a chance of doing it. Barry Sanders was one, and I was the next one.
What did that do to you?
Oh, I was already self-motivated. That just fueled me up even more because I told him, point blank, I don't know what Barry wants, but I want to break your record. And he said, just go, it's there for you to break.
What did you learn from Michael Jordan?
I said, MJ, I need to talk to you about business. I need to talk to you about other things.
And he said what?
He said, meet me in San Francisco on this date.
Right.
I took a plane, booked a hotel room, flew to San Fran. We sat down at the Ritz-Carlton, sat in their lounge, sat there and had a conversation for about 2.5 hours.
And he marveled at the fact that you showed up.
And not only that, but he marveled at the fact that I reached out for help.
And you learned a lot.
I learned a great deal.
Wow.
Same thing with Magic Johnson. Same thing with Roger Staubach. Roger Staubach was unbelievable as well. And the great part about it, I didn't have to take a flight.
He's right there in Dallas.
He's right there in Dallas.
So
it was awesome.
The NFL's all-time rushing leader. We're going to explore more about those conversations that you had, particularly, as Emmitt said, in terms of what he's doing in the game of life, which seemingly is better than what he did in the game of football. More with Emmitt Smith after this. I'm back with Emmitt Smith, who in 1993 became the only running back to win the NFL rushing crown, be selected NFL MVP, win a Super Bowl ring, and be selected Super Bowl MVP. Now, I must give credit, thank goodness, from our audience here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. you went from feeling kind of low to kind of high, and it was a New England Patriots fan who put some things in perspective. Talk to us.
Yeah, we were talking about the carries, over 4,000 carries.
Right.
And I wanted to know how many fumbles I had within those carries.
And he told you 38.
He told me 38.
And you felt bummed.
Yes, I did, because it averaged out to be about every 116 carries or something like that.
But he put it in context with Adrian Peterson.
AP had 34 and 2,000 less carries.
What more do you need to say?
After that, my spirits rose pretty high.
And you played for 15
years, yes.
In that welcome back, we talked about all the things that you did. You had hoped and dreamt to play in the Rose Bowl one year. Tell us a little bit about the Rose Bowl story.
Well, the Rose Bowl story is pretty simple, because in the Southeast, at that time, the SEC never really traveled out west unless it was in the bowl game. In 1987, my senior year in high school, I was named Gatorade National Football Player of the Year, and I had the opportunity to go to my very first Super Bowl ever out in the Rose Bowl and watch the Denver Broncos play against the New York Giants. 6 years later, the Dallas Cowboys are playing the Buffalo Bills in the Rose Bowl, and I'm playing in my very first Super Bowl.
Not lost on us what you said about the game of life.
Right.
Magic Johnson often commented, as great a basketball player as he was, he wanted his second act to be better than the first.
Right.
You're in the process of doing that now. The consummate businessman doing a number of things. You talked about diversifying.
Right.
You're doing that now. Give us a feel for what you're doing now.
Well, right now I have multiple companies under Emmitt Smith Enterprises. I have a real estate development company called E. Smith Legacy. I have a real estate construction company called E.J. Smith Construction, and we're starting up a brand new brokerage services company right now, modeling it after the Roger Staubach company. And so the beautiful thing about it is I'm taking the things that I've learned on the football field and in football and in life, and translating those things into this area of business. And I'm surrounding myself with great team members. And so at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's not about us, it's not about the money we make, it's about the service that we provide to every client that we're working with. And so it's important that we do what we say we're gonna do, when we say we're gonna do it, and do it under the budget. It's very important.
And you're getting it done. And I've heard when I was in Dallas recently from a number of people in the real estate environment that you are a much sought after speaker to talk not only substance, but you fire them up as well, and certainly you're delivering with what you're doing. You're carrying the ball like an NFL All-Pro.
I love it.
After Dallas's huge win over the New York Giants on January 2nd, 1994, John Madden, the iconic coach and broadcaster, called Emmitt Smith's performance the gutsiest I've ever seen. For Smith, it might be his signature game. We know that was a game that you separated your shoulder. Talk about that memory.
That was a game that required a lot of mental toughness, a lot of heart, a lot of guts, a lot of risk, and self-encouragement. Throughout the whole game, you have to actually talk to yourself and remind yourself that you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And so going through that it taught me a lot about who I am and what I can do and what I'm capable of. You have to go back and evaluate your losses. You have to evaluate your mistakes so you don't repeat them, and so you get better. For me, I'm constantly striving to get better, knowing that perfection is never attainable. It's always out there for me to pursue, and as long as it's out there for me to pursue, I'm going to continue to pursue it. But my job is to maximize my potential to the fullest. And that's to live life to the fullest, enjoy it along the way, and most importantly, share with others.
You dreamt of leaving Pensacola, you set your goals, you here at the top, the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
You had planned it all along.
Well, God orchestrated it all. I'm just living out my purpose.
Folks, Mr. Emmitt Smith, more remarkable in the game of life, I think, than even on the football field, and your football career was stellar. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you so very much for tuning in this week. Join me again next week for another edition of The James Brown Show. God bless you. Emmitt. Wow.